Rabbi Yoshua Fass, Executive Director of Nefesh B'Nefesh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, has there been an increase in interest in Aliyah since the war broke out?
There has been an exceptional spike of Aliyah interest since October 7th. Immediately after October 7th, we saw this incredible spike of interest, almost around 90% of an annual average of Aliyah applications. And that sustained itself, that rate, for many months. So we hope to see it actualize in 2025. To give you a sense, over 10,000 individuals, unique individuals, have applied to make Aliyah since October 7th.
Wow, that is an immense number.
Yes.
So what unique challenges and motivations are you seeing among Olim during this period to make Aliyah?
Okay, so let's deal with the positive first. Let's deal with motivations. Motivation, every single model of immigration works on a push and pull modality. Thank God, and we're blessed that North American Aliyah has really been the pull of the state of Israel from individuals who wanted to move out of ideology or professionalism or personal reasons. That can be belonging or identity or familial issues. And especially after October 7th, we've seen such a visceral connection, this engagement between Jews in the diaspora to Israel, the greatest expression of solidarity. And that itself has motivated individuals to really stand with Israel, but stand in Israel of being in Israel. The challenge is making Aliyah in wartime. The communities are different. Many of the soldiers, many of the men are in Miluim. The job market is different. Mental health issues, the stresses of moving to Israel during wartime. And that weighs on an Oleh. Even if they're motivated, even if they make the move and actualize that dream, there's a whole landscape that is created, a very complex, complicated landscape that is created by war that has to be navigated by an Oled when they start their new lives.
Right, so there's a bunch of new aspects to it. So what new services has Nefesh B'Nefesh introduced to meet increased demand and the different conditions?
That's a great question. So to meet the increased demands, we've increased staff for all the incoming applications, to filter the applications, to filter their seriousness, to attach it and to connect them to Aliyah advisors. So each person and each serious applicant has a case manager. We've increased our programming and engagement overseas and our presence overseas. And here on this side, increasing our post-Aliyah engagement and programming, regional coordinators who are actively outreaching to the immigrant after they make the Aliyah to make sure that they are not just surviving, but thriving and integrating during this very challenging time, increasing our work with job placement and even just nuances that might help an Oleh adjust, whether or not it's financial assistance and assistance with just small nuances that will allow them to be able to integrate during these complex times.
I think not just surviving but thriving is the perfect description, really, about exactly where the difficulty lies in making Aliyah in the middle of war. And I think
Yes.
a lot of the motivation today that we're seeing has to do with what we're seeing these days surrounding the war. So how, from what you've seen, has the connection to Israel changed among diaspora Jews since the war broke out? Do you think it's intensified or become more split down the middle, with many Jewish people abroad expressing nevertheless opposition to Israel's military pursuits?
I think those who are opposing Israel's actions from our Jewish community are outliers in the diaspora. The wellspring of support that Israel has received, this emotional connectivity to Israel, to Judaism, this visceral connection, this engagement has been unparalleled. We haven't seen this for years. I mean, just know that episodically, every single time that there's a war in Israel, there is a wellspring of support and solidarity that's been expressed by the diaspora Jew. But I think we haven't seen the like of this since 1948.
Interesting. So, surrounding specifically the war, you said in general, there's been an increased interest in Aliyah, but I'm curious if there's also been a change in how people make Aliyah and the Aliyah patterns, where they're interested in making Aliyah to, what kind of Aliyah, so to speak, they're trying to make.
It's a great question. I'm trying to really filter into the data to see if there are any new trends instead of just an increase of volume. We've definitely seen this noticeable increase of volume, but the demographics are the same, the geographic locations, the origins are the same. We're seeing the same trends that we were noticing over the last few years, just expand in number. So the average age of an Oleh is around 32 years old. They're small families. There has been an increase of Aliyah from those aged between 18 to 30-year-olds. So we have a whole huge group of young professionals who are moving.
Not just young professionals, they're also, that's the age group where typically you'd find soldiers.
Exactly. So that opens up some of them are coming to stand with Israel during this time, to support Israel in every single aspect of the meaning of standing with Israel. But it is remarkable to see, especially in that age group between 18 and 30, just the spectrum of the denominational expression and just the religious affiliation that is coming and moving to Israel, which is a very healthy representation of diaspora Jewry.
According to that, do you have any predictions about Aliyah patterns for the near future, for the farther future, for post-war?
I think hopefully, we'll see the fruits of all of this spike interest, and we will see in a historic year in 2025 for North American numbers, 2025, 2026. The interesting thing is what will happen on campus, because right now, very few individuals are expressing that they are uncomfortable in the United States, and that is the motivational for going. There's more of a pull than a push in this immigration modality. So the interesting thing is what will happen over the next few months on campuses. Do we see even an increased number of that population moving because they feel that they want to even get a head start in their professional life and by going to school here, undergraduate, graduate school? So that'll be very interesting to watch that trend.
That's so interesting that you brought up academia, because Israel's academia is, the source of so much of its pride. We're the startup nation. We're an educated nation. So it's very interesting to imagine that that's going to be a very large motivator in the near future.
I hope.
You hope.
We'll see.
And my final question for you is, what advice would you have for somebody considering making Aliyah in 2025?
Research. The more a person plans, the more a person is prepared, the more successful that they can have as a future. Take this as one of the most serious decisions of a person's life. It's not just an actualization of one's own personal dreams, but you are paving the path for generations to come. And that requires an immense amount of preparation. And we've seen a direct correlation to those who are prepared, those who do research, those who look at every variable that will be identifiable points of success. And if they have a plan, obviously, plans get detoured and you get detoured onto a different path. But if you have a plan for success and for excellence and for happiness, then that itself will allow you to have the motivational thrust and the wind under one's wing to really have a successful integration and life in Israel.
And a smoother transition, I assume.
100%.
Amazing. Rabbi Fass, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.